do it.
Hey, Cole, how you doing?
Not good.
I was gonna do it.
I didn't show him.
What?
I said it's over there.
Help him. You look a friend of mine. Tell him where it is.
Alex, what is this?
I wonder, I don't know.
It's the computer.
This is score, like what, like how good did you do on the last thing?
How good are you supposed to?
Like for the oak leaf thing, whatever we did?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's your score, that how much you got.
How much is it out of?
Look on the back. This is at the bottom right. Right there, you got 50, yeah, 50, yeah.
50 out of 50?
I think, yeah.
Alright.
Run 600 sprints today.
Yeah, I heard about that.
After practice, we condition as a team, and then do that, and then do the 600 sprints.
Wait, what's the 600 sprints?
Because I miss weights.
That's gonna suck. Have fun.
Well, I have a red one, a black one, and a white one. I'm wearing. Right now, I'm wearing a white one. Yesterday was black. Guess what, Mommy? I don't want to know what to do. Now I can't hear it because it's covered in both my ears.
Oh.
Yeah. Alright. Okay, Beth, I think we moved you over here now.
Yeah, you're right.
So, sorry, we had a new scene chart. We had some switch up in classes last week, and you haven't been here since what, last Thursday or Friday? Okay, so
Right there.
right here, the second desk there. Yep, that one. Okay, I know Jason's at Ag today, so we're back to 5 again. All right, so Beth, make sure you're checking online. I think we had an assignment due Friday last week when you were gone. I think it was like page 2. So go online, check that out. I think it was page 2, 1 through 10, both A and B. That was due that week when you were gone. And then we had this one that they just got yesterday. Okay, I'll give you some time today to work on that. Okay, but we have some notes due before that. So we'll give you time after lunch. I know some of you maybe have already turned it in. That's fine. It's good. So you're done. But for those who aren't, I'll give you time after lunch, not before. I think we have a full lunch. We have a full class today. Like this is the thing that you just need to get used to, that we have a full period. We have lunch at 11:15, so we have about 20 minutes or so, and then we'll come back and then I'll have the signs posted in the lunchroom, and then we're back in here until 12. So that's kind of the idea. So, all right. Any questions with scheduling today? Then your rest of your day is pretty normal. It'll go 6 through 9.
I got an email from oh wait, never mind.
Wasn't for me. Okay. All right. So let's talk about our main topic here today. We're on the 3rd section today, but we have to talk about one thing before we get there. So we're on section 1.3, which is basic operations. Basic operations. And there's one topic I want to talk about, and it was with the rounding we had yesterday. And I didn't give you any of these because I try not to. But I want to talk about rounding by place value one more time. So rounding place value. I want to talk about one particular situation you could be put into where you're trying to round and the number's not easy. It's not easy to look at. Okay, so let's do an example of a rounding problem. Okay, and the example I want to talk about, we're going to round it to the nearest hundreds place. And that was kind of what you did yesterday. they told you what place they want you to round the number to. So what is it closer to? We're gonna do an example of this right now. Okay. Then after that, we're gonna get into our new stuff. We need to talk about basic operations. So we have 2 operations we're gonna talk about. We'll do a couple examples before lunch, and then after lunch, I'll give you some time where you can work on this page 4, page 6, page 7, because it is due tomorrow. Because I do like to give you a little bit of time in class, you can work on it. Okay, so, and again, we will work on examples of this as well. We'll do a couple examples of basic operations. We're actually going to look at addition and subtraction today. Okay, any questions with our goal? Okay, that's your outline for today. Okay, let's talk about this idea of place value and rounding. Here's your number. Okay, can somebody say that number out loud for me?
2,399,995.
Perfect. 2,399,995. Because remember, you always say the number, say what spot it's in when you get to the comma. Say the number, because you always say 3 numbers at a time. Say the number, say what spot it's in, so that's the 1,000 spot, and then say the number. Okay, that's how it works. That was your first part of the assignment yesterday, correct? That was page 4, you have to write it out into words. Okay? Alright, and the big thing is like the 99 will have a hyphen, the 95 at the very end will have a hyphen, so just making sure of that. Okay, now, rounding to what spot? So what spot are we rounding?
Hundreds.
Hundreds. So in your instructions in your homework, they'll tell you what spot they would like to round, so you had to read the instructions. Okay, up here, the hundreds position is this one. Okay, it didn't say 100,000s or 100 millions, it just said hundreds. That's the 100 position, because it goes 1, 10, 100, 1,000, like 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, and then 1 million, 10 million, 100 million, and then billion, and so on and so forth. Okay, this is a number. How do we round? What was the rule?
If the number behind it is 5 or above.
Yep. You look behind the number you're supposed to round. I'm supposed to be rounding the one I underlined, right? You have to look behind it. Like you said, you look behind the number that I underlined. If that is a 5 or larger, 5 or larger, that means the number I underlined needs to go up. What's the problem?
So many 9s.
Yeah, there's a ton of 9s. If I need to go up, right, because this number was a 5 or bigger, it was a 9. That means this number needs to go up. That's a problem. Because if I try to make this bigger, it turns into a 2-digit number. It turns into a 10. So here's how you do it. Okay? So these numbers, I know for a fact this number is going to go up. So these are going to get chopped off. So they're just going to turn into zeros. That's fine. We know that. But the number I underline needs to go up. So this is going to turn into a 10. Now, how this works when you turn this number into a 10. The 0 will be in this spot. The 1 will need to carry to the next column over. That's how you do it when it turns into a 2-digit number. That's something we just didn't talk about yesterday. So this 0 will stay here for the commas, right? There's the 0. The 1 will carry over. Now, what does this number turn into?
10.
A 10 now, because you carried the 1 over. Well, that's silly, because now the 1's going to carry, or the 0's going to carry down, and the 1's going to the next column over again. And what happens here? This turns out to be a 10 again. So the 0 will come down, the 1 gets carried over. And now this, 1 and a 3 make 4, and then the 2's out front. Look at how many numbers changed because of that 9 in the 100 spot. So when it turns into a 2-digit number, like this turned into a 10, you write down like the 10, right? You write down 0 for the 10, but then the 1 carries to the next column. And if this turns again, that's fine. You just carry the 1 over, and then carry it over again. If it doesn't carry, it's fine. Like, let me give you an example of a number that wouldn't carry. 5, 6, 9, let's go 6, 0, okay? So if I'm going to the 100 spot again, so I look behind it, okay, that's a 5 or bigger, so this will go up, right? right? So this turns into the 10 again, so the 0 comes down. The 1 will carry over to this column, right? And this turns into a 7, and now I don't need to carry any more numbers. So, if it turns into a 10, you just put the 0 down, carry the 1 over to the next column. So that's the way it works. We didn't have any of those yesterday. I didn't assign any of them. It was just, I looked at it and I was like, man, that's a problem. Like, I know that's a problem for some people. They don't know how to carry numbers correctly. You just carry them 1 to the next column over. So, because you can't put a 2-digit number sitting there. Okay, now there was one also number, I think it was it 26? What was the number?
It was like 49.
49 or something like that you brought up. It was 49, that was the number. And they wanted you to round to the 100 spot. That was the problem we had yesterday. And so the hundreds are here. Like there's literally nothing sitting here. It's a 0, right? Because that's the 100 spot. There's literally nothing sitting there. And so if you're rounding to the 100 spot, you have to look behind it. Is that a 5 or bigger? No. So that means the 0 will stay the same, because if it's 5 or bigger, the 0 would go up. But it stays the same, and then you chop off all the rest of the numbers. This is what it's closest to. That was your answer at whatever that one was, 20, was it 26? I think it was 26 or something like that. That was your answer on that problem, because you're running to the 100 spot. Well, the goofy thing is it's 0. 49 is closer to 0 than it is 100. It's actually 1 closer to 0. That's how it works. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, that was what we had yesterday. I just want to show you this idea of carrying, because I know there's going to be a time at some point where you're going to have to carry, you're going to have to round, and it just looks goofy. Okay, any questions? Okay, let's get to the new stuff today. But again, you had rounding and all that good stuff in your homework yesterday. And if you didn't quite get that, you can always watch the video again. I always post the videos online. I always have the GoPro going and stuff. And I post it to hsmath.org. That's my website. You'll know because it'll say Mr. Ward Math at the top. So for the address bar. Alright. Let's talk about the basic operations today. Okay, let's talk about addition. Okay, that's a basic operation, right? Basic operations in math that we learn. Adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. Most people they despise division. Because the people that don't like division are the people that don't know how to multiply. That's really what it comes down to. They're just hand in hand. Okay? Alright, addition. Very, very easy. What symbol do we use for addition? Yeah, a little plus sign, right? I mean, that's the generic symbol. The only problem that people have with addition sometimes when they're going too fast, they think it's multiplying. Looks like an X. You get going too fast. So it's easy. Now, there's a bunch of words you need to realize. The word addition can be written a bunch of different ways. So it could be plus, that's what most people use. Like, oh, just plus them together. Oh, that's horrible English. I hate it. It just drives me nuts. You're going to add them together. You're going to add, right? Or you're going to find a total. You're going to total them. You're going to combine them. Those are just keywords that I know a lot of people try to use. Remember, be careful on the word plus. But then other words you need to realize. This is the one that a lot of people don't know. Find the sum of. The word sum means to add. The book uses that one a lot. Your book anyway. Find the sum of these two numbers. The word increased by. Increased by means to add. You're gonna this item has been increased by 5. Added to, we already had add. Increased by some. Altogether, that's a good one. These are just keywords that you just need to be comfortable with. That when you see them in your textbook, you understand how it's going to work. One more than. More than is another one. 5 more than 10. Okay. Everyone understand the list of words you could potentially see in your book that they could use for the instructions, or if they have a story problem at some point. Okay, now, how I add. how like we add numbers, whole numbers, we use column method. That's my method of choice. Column method. There we go. Column method. Column method is where you stack numbers on top of each other. That's how it works, right? So if I'm adding 123 plus 13, I'm going to add those two together. You have to stack them. Okay. This is written on list form, like side to side. I want them in column method, so I want it like this: 123 and 13. That's column. I believe that's the way they teach it in elementary school, correct? Junior high, that thing. It's just the go-to version. Now, can anyone explain why I had to write it like this? Anyone know the actual purpose to it? There's two purposes, actually. Okay, number one, it lines up the decimal point. Where's the decimal in those two numbers?
The end.
The end. That's why. You actually line up the decimal. And the other purpose that goes with that, it's lining up the correct values. What I mean by that is like, what is this position? It's the ones position. The ones are lined up. The tens are lined up in this column. And then the hundreds are over here. You're lining up place values on top of each other. That's why you're doing it. That's why it's important to line up the decimal point, because it guarantees the right numbers are lined up. Okay? Typically, I know you can do this. I only stack two of them at a time. I know some people, like, they get going and there's a problem where they're adding 4 numbers together and they try to make this huge column of 4 numbers. I wouldn't do that. Do 2 at a time, then just do it to the next number, and then do it to the next number after that. So just do 1 number at a time as you do it. Okay? When you do this, you start in the back, you work your way right to left. That's how you add, that's how you subtract. Right to left. It's opposite of a book, going this way. Because you start where the decimal is. That's how it works. Okay, so 3 plus 3.
6.
6. 2 plus 1. 3, and then the 1, and there's a 0 there. There's a term there. 1 plus 0. 1, 2. Done. That's how it works. Easy peasy. Most people know it. You're probably super comfortable with that. Just making sure. Adding, it's not a problem. You're just going straight down. Very, very simple. Now, how this is different. How it's different with subtraction. Subtraction, you might have to borrow. Subtraction, you're actually subtracting the top minus the bottom. And that's the part that I want to make sure that we understand, that addition can be different than subtraction because you might have to borrow numbers and stuff. But we're going to look at that in a little bit. Any questions with adding so far? Anyway, okay, pretty easy, right? All right, let's do one where we have like 3 or 4 numbers, so you can see what I'm talking about, like how you can, instead of stacking all 4, we just stack 2 at a time and we just keep adding. Okay, so let's make up some numbers. So make up a 2 or 3 digit number, I don't care.
300.
300, okay. Very nice and easy. All right, let's make up another one.
523.
523, all right. 2 or 3 digit number, please.
250.
250, okay. So there's my 4 numbers. I'm just gonna go, ooh, no, that's only 3. Jeez. One more.
999.
900 and what?
99.
99, okay, we're gonna go big. All right, okay, we'll stop there. All right, if we have 4 numbers, right, stack any 2 of them. It doesn't matter, I don't care the order, because it doesn't matter the order that you add. You pick the 2 that make the most sense that I would add together. Like for me personally, when I add these, what 2 numbers do you think you would probably want to add first?
300.
Yeah, 300 and?
523.
Sure, just go the first 2, that makes sense. Makes sense to me, starting left or right. Okay. So, I'm gonna stack those 2. Just like I showed you before, we're lining up the decimal points because the decimal points are in the back. There they are. Add those 2. And just add straight down, going right to left. That's how you do it. So this number 0 plus 3 is 3, 0 plus 2 is 2, 3 plus 5 is 8. All right. Now, we're done with that. That's your new number. So these are gone. There is an 823 sitting there. Those 2 numbers are gone. So now, what am I going to add to the 823 now? The next number. So now I'm going to add the 250 to it. So I'm going to use the actual sum that I just got, the summation that I just came up with. I'm going to add that to the next digit. So this is 823, and then we're going to add the 250 to it, lining up the decimals. So I'm just going one number at a time. I never stack more than 2 because you lose track. The numbers get too big. You don't know how to carry because it goes to 2-digit numbers too quickly. Because these are nice. Anytime you add straight down, the biggest number you're probably going to get is a 2-digit number in the teens, maybe. Most of the time they're just single digits. Like 3 plus 0, that's a 3. That's a single digit number. 2 plus 5, that's a 7. That's a single digit. So you can count those with your fingers. This is where you get a 2-digit number. 8 plus 2, you make a 10. Done. Anytime you have to carry numbers over, because we'll have that here in a minute, you just carry it to the next column. So we'll see that when we have the 999. So now I got this 1073. These numbers are gone. I've used them all. And now I'm down to 1073. Because all 3 of those numbers have been added together. And now I'm 1073 plus the 999. Now we're going to have to do some carrying. This is where now the column idea comes in, where you're going to have to carry a number to the next column. So 3 plus 9, 12. 12, right? Carry a 1. So now notice I carried a 1 to the next column because it was a 2-digit. I don't want to write the 2 digits here, so I write the 2 for the 12, carry the 1 over to the next column, and I'll add that straight down. Adding that down, 1 plus 7 is 8, and then 8 plus 9. What is that, 17?
Yeah.
Carry the 1 again. Yikes. So now I'm going down. 1 plus 0 is 1. Add a 9, that's 10. Carry the 1 over again. 1 plus 1 plus 0. That's 2 plus 0, that's 2. There's your answer. 2072. Okay, that's the idea. Okay, now obviously most people when they first started the problem, you probably just use a calculator. Yeah, I understand that. But I want to make sure that you can still do things by hand. Doing things by hand is a common thing. I mean, when the batteries run on a calculator, you gotta do something by hand at some point. Okay. Any questions, comments, concerns? Okay, let's go to lunch. We'll come back. I'll give you some time where you can work on your assignment.
Thanks for keep my face in here.
Yeah. Oh, this thing, I didn't even worry about what period you were. Because I would have had my door locked if I didn't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like in there too.
Okay, so like I said right before lunch, we were talking about rounding. We talked about the basic operations, addition. Subtraction is a big difference. When you do column method, you still line up the decimal, but that's the part where you might have to borrow, because when you subtract, it's different than addition. Addition, you just go straight down, right to left, fine. But when you subtract, the top number has to be bigger than the bottom number. Has to. So the most common mistake that I always see when people make when they're subtracting, and we'll get to all the words of subtraction here. And this will be my last notes of today. The big difference here, and I'm going to actually leave that here, when you subtract, I'm going to go with the same numbers, but I'm going to subtract now. When you subtract numbers, the big difference here, the top number has to be bigger than the bottom number, or they have to be the same, like in this case. So 3 minus 3, 0. That's possible. It's fine. When you do the next column, this is great. The top number is bigger than the bottom. So 2 minus 1 is 1, right? You're taking 2 and you're subtracting 1 off it. And then 1 minus 0, the top number is still bigger than the bottom, so I can subtract, so that gives me 1. This is the answer. Like you're subtracting straight down. You can't just do this situation if this was the case. I always have somebody try this. They take 123, they subtract 14, and they take 3 minus 4. And what do you think they put? They put a 1 here. Because they go, oh, it's 4 minus 3. And it's, 3 minus 4, 4 minus 3, it's the same thing. No, it's not. The top number has to be bigger than the bottom. So you can't technically subtract that right now. What you have to do is you have to borrow from the number in front of it. This number is too small. And this works when you stack them. So you borrow from the number in front of it. So you change this 2, you make it 1 less. So if it was a 2, now what do I make it?
1.
1, right? So there's 1 sitting there. And then what you do is you just put a 1 in front of the number behind it. So now that becomes a 13. That's just how it works. Really what you're doing, you're adding 10. Okay? Because you borrowed from the 10 columns, you're adding 10 to this. That's what you're doing. So 13 now minus 4. Oh, that should be a 9. Right? 13 minus 4. Then you can keep going because now I've subtracted that. 1 minus 1. 0, and then 1 minus 0, 1. This is the correct answer. Okay? Don't do that silly thing where you don't think about that the top number has to be there. You might have to borrow. This is something we're going to go into tomorrow for sure. We're going to really hammer down subtraction tomorrow. Okay. All right. Any questions with the basic introduction with what I talked about, addition, subtraction today? Just kind of a crash course into it. Okay. All right. Perfect. You have the rest of the time today. Page 4, page 6, page 7 to work on. I know, like, Beth, you haven't been here, so maybe it's a good time to, like, get caught up with some of the older work. So I'd start with that first. That way you can ask questions. But everyone else, if you are still working, if you're still working on page 4, you can do that. I believe I had a couple people that turned it in yesterday. I don't know if that was the latest in something. So I know Cole, you turned both in. So there you go. Let's see. Is this page 4 and page 7? Yeah. So that was Alex. You turned that in. Jason turned it in. I believe that was it. I don't think anyone else turned it in. Yeah, that was it. Okay. All right. So if you're still working, that's fine. Alex or Cole, if you want yours back, if you like want to check it, that's fine. I can do that. But otherwise, if you already have it done, no worries. You can work on whatever you need to. So you can be in your. If you have old homework, if you have something new you want to work on, that's fine too. Okay.
We still don't have homework.
No, because that was one you already had turned in. So no worries. So that was one I gave you yesterday. You guys already got it done, so you're fine. So let's see. I'll just make sure that you turned in that page 2 last week. Let's see. Yep, page 2 and Cole had page 2. Yes, you're good. So and Beth, you still owe me page 2, I think. No, you already turned it in. You're good. Yeah, you got the page 2 turned in. You must turn it in before you last week. So yeah, so you just have that one. Okay. Okay. Good deal. Good deal. Book covers. Make sure you got a book cover in your book. I'm gonna check that. So I think Beth, I just had to check yours, what you do. Alex, if you have a book cover in your book, take it out and I can give you the points for it. So I'll need that. So.
Actually, I put my book cover on the wrong book last night.
So, well, you better go grab a book cover if you got one or put one on.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna check. And there's paper in the back if you need it. So it's just calendar paper. Just put a calendar on the outside of it. So no worries. So
Can I go back real quick?
yes, you may. No. Okay, I think the website's up to date. I think all the lessons are on there, even from yesterday. Today's lesson will be on tonight. So.
No, I think I'm done.
And Beth, if you have any questions, not quite getting something, please ask, because I know you haven't been here and nothing's more difficult than trying to do something you just haven't seen. So, actually, Beth already checked your book cover. It'd be Hannah. I haven't checked your book cover yet. You got a book cover in your book? You must have been gone the other day when I checked. All right, perfect. And Alex, when you get that on, then I'll give you your points. So. got a book cover on it?
Yep.
Perfect. I'll give you the points then. Christine Cook.
What time does this period end today?
12:01. So we got a little bit of time here. Weaver. If you're done with that assignment, you can turn it in. Make sure it's in the basket. Make sure my name, date, period, page number's on it. I think all lesson plans are up to date. So today's will be online tonight. Just again, if you want to watch the videos and stuff, if you're listening. Yes.
What is pre-calculus like?
It's a prelude to calculus, obviously by the name. It's above algebra 2. They cover topics like curves, formulas for curves, graphing them. They talk about how to solve multivariable problems. So if there's a bunch of like x's and y's, how to be able to solve it using correct methods. So other things, they learn how to solve basic triangle trigonometry, stuff like that. So covers a range of topics, tons. So difficult, but once you're at that level, it doesn't seem that hard. So.
general math or geometry? Or do you
And
do
pre-calc. I have 4 sections geometry, 3 sections pre-calc, and then your guys' general math. So you kind of split it like that. I'm not.
Do you want it?